Hi, we're going to talk about factory farming today. It's Ftrhstry looking back on the next 100 years. Factory farming is the worst. It's kind of the worst. Like, of all the things humans do in the 2000s that they're not doing anymore in the 2100s, factory farming is like top 3 of the most icky, like borderline disgusting, borderline arguably evil behaviors that humans are perpetuating on other creatures. Of course, humans do quite bad things to each other sometimes, and sometimes en masse in organized ways, but the sheer scale of factory farming and the repetition and the depth of it is heartbreaking. I would encourage you to look some facts up about this. Just search for factory farming and consume as much as you can bear. Kingdangerously Prime scrolls past the pictures because they're awful. You just don't want to see them. But you're going to have to be aware of facts like cows cry for days when you take away their babies. Farmers cut off pigtails in a way that causes them a special pain so they don't nibble on them. Chickens get hung upside down by shackles that break their feet and dipped into electrified water, but not all of them get numbed to death, so some of them are still alive and conscious when they're thrown in the boiling water that removes their feathers. Like, it's sort of stuff you couldn't make up. I retroactively wish I'd put a trigger warning there. It's pretty bad stuff, but it is happening, so you just kind of need to know. And wherever you go in terms of like your own moral decisions about dining, you should know that you've got lots of good protein options that aren't from animals. You should also not, hate yourself if you participate, but you should look for, where you can, humane options, and you should ask your supermarkets and other places where you buy foods to move toward cultivated meat as soon as possible. In the early 2020s, that's just getting started. It's still in sort of a research phase. We've talked about it in a couple different places, but we'll do more of that. It's very exciting. By the 2030s, you can actually buy a 3D printed cheeseburger that was never part of some cruel, horrific system. And by the 2040s, they're quite common. 2050s, 60s, now it's getting to be mostly everywhere, and a lot of these farms are shutting down. 2070, 80s, now it's just a niche thing. Just a few people eat animals, most of them in like very specialized situations where they've been hunted. And out in the 2120s, it's highly rarefied that you would eat a living creature. It'd be almost like a part of a religious ritual for you to do that. Like, you might go hunting with your family to really connect to the earth, or you might actually be participating in a religious ceremony in which some kind of sacrifice of a living creature is involved. But there wouldn't be the mass scale there isn't in the 2120s, the mass scale factory killing of just, living creatures that are not that different from humans. Like, yeah, they're different, but 90 plus of the genetics are identical. So if you look into a mammal's eyes, it's got feelings. Like, you can tell it doesn't speak English or whatever you speak, but it's thinking stuff and it's feeling things. And the fact that most of these creatures spend their lives in pens where they literally can't turn around for their entire lives and then just get carted off to be killed in like scary, painful ways. It's pretty gross, man. And like, looking back from the 2100s, it's just like one of the things that humanity goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did that. I feel really bad about it, and I'm glad we're not doing it now. Eats printed chicken burger. So it's definitely better. The good news is it's getting better. Bad news is in the 2020s, it's still really widespread. And 2 other angles to consider about this are, 1, these factory farms are not just bad for the animals, like as in horrific for the animals, but they're really bad for the environment around them. They're like releasing lots of animal poop into the environment. Chicken poop has ammonia. That's quite bad for humans. Pig poop is like 165 million pounds of it a year, produced in just America. That's about half as much poop as just the humans produce. And, a lot of it isn't particularly treated before it just goes into nature. So you got to figure that's bad. Then, thing 2 to consider is, what's the argument for super intelligent AI to treat humans better than humans have treated things that are just slightly less intelligent than humans. So if your case is going to be built on predicate, you sort of want to have an argument that you've at least made a moral attempt at some, defense of how a lesser creature should be treated by a more powerful, intelligent, complex creature. Because in the not too distant future, from the 2020s, and in the fairly distant past at this point from where I'm looking, the 2120s, AI is smarter than humans. And there are lots of human things that are smarter than classic edition humans. So you got to figure there's like a moral scale here to consider, right? Like, what is the reason that you should treat a lesser than you creature better than you do? Part of the reason is that something more intelligent than you should treat you with respect and dignity and not put you in a box and cut off parts of your body that you really like just for convenience sake. And we would certainly hope that it doesn't eat you. Not a lot of that going on where I'm from. Anyway, bit of a dark topic, so I hope you weathered the storm all right. Recommend looking it up. Look up factory farming, look up cultivated meat, make the switch as soon as possible. Future History out.